Good morning. Welcome to an episode of Breakfast Analysis. Today we are going to be doing our best to explain everything that went down in the Year 5/Year 6 panel at the Invitational last weekend. I'm a little sick right now, so I do apologize if that's noticeable in my voice. Thanks to land flu for making me like this. And I also want to make sure that it's known that we don't really have a ton of information on everything. They honestly left a lot of gaps in the announcement, in my opinion. And while it was very exciting, and I was really impressed and thrilled by a lot of the stuff that they announced over the panel, I was a little bit left with some questions. And the information was a bit scattered in the panel and in the videos live at the event. They didn't go into a ton of detail. They went into a little bit more in some articles afterwards. There's 3 articles I'm going to be drawing from my information from this video. One from Ubisoft, one from Esports Observer, and one from CGG. The one from CGG has a little bit more information than the other 2 articles. I'm going to be assuming that all the information is correct. It's possible that CGG maybe has some of their info wrong just because there's some stuff in there that hasn't been directly confirmed by Ubisoft from what I've seen, at least publicly. So just an asterisk, and I'll point out sometimes where that information is coming only from CGG. But usually CGG is pretty reliable, so I don't think that we have too big of a reason to worry about it. So 2020, 2021, the end of year, no, not even the end of year 4, year 5 and year 6. Year 5 starts basically whenever the new update drops, in the next couple of weeks. And then we'll have a whole roadmap to come, and things are really changing drastically for CG Sports. So we'll try to lay it out all simply for you guys here, and we'll get into it. So first of all, we're going to finish Pro League Season 11 basically the same way that things have always been done, right? Pro League's going to return March 18th for APAC, March 23rd for North America and Europe, and then March 24th for LATAM. It's going to go until about mid-April, April 13th and 14th. It'll end a little bit earlier for APAC. The APAC finals will be sometime after then, not announced. And then Pro League finals will be May 16th and 17th in Sao Paulo. Now, once those finals are over, that'll mark the end of the old system, or the current system as it currently is. Excuse me. So what does that mean? Well, that means quite a lot of things. So Sao Paulo is exactly the same as we're used to. There will be 8 teams attending, 2 North American, 2 European, 2 Latin American, and 2 APAC teams. Not a whole lot interesting going on in that. One of the only times where we'll have a repeat of cities for Pro League finals or for any big event other than Montreal. Last time we had that was Cologne in season 5, I should say. So kind of interesting, good for the Latin Americans. And then we mentioned the new stuff. So the new Pro League seasons are going to be a year long. Season 12 will be still half a year because we already went through a full year. But then Season 13 will start right after the 5th Invitational. So that'll be early 2021, and it'll go until the next Invitational, basically. It'll be a year-long thing. I think it goes March till November is what they're expecting. And what is it going to look like? Well, again, it's a little bit confusing. We'll start with Europe because every region is going to be quite different in how they're handled. And so we're going to have to take this one region at a time. Europe is the most simple in my mind. It's going to stay relatively the same. It seems like there's still going to be promotion relegation. We're not sure exactly what that's going to look like. But based on the fact that in Season 11, Challenger League teams are getting moved up, that should be the way things are going. It doesn't look like Europe is going to go to a LAN format because they announced that for some of the other regions, but Europe seems like it'll still be online. There'll be 10 teams in European Pro League. This was known already. There will be, it seems like all the teams in the region will be in the pilot program because, again, 44 pilot programs teams being pushed. That's 10 from Europe, 10 from North America, 10 from LATAM, and 12 from APAC. Now, again, that's going to get confusing, but for Europe, it's pretty straightforward. It's going to be run by Faceit and Live Nation, so ESL is out of Europe. Take that as you will. Some people are happy with that. Some people might not be. Whatever. ESL's out of Europe. Faceit and Live Nation coming in. And the most interesting bit comes from the Esports Observer article talking about how the Tier 2 scene will sort of work as national programs similar to League of Legends. What does that mean? Well, it's kind of what we already have in Europe. Right now, Siege has 9 national programs across different regions, more or less, in Europe specifically. That's Italy, Benelux, Poland, UK, the Nordic countries, GSA, Germany, Switzerland and Austria, France, Spain, and then Russia as well. League of Legends is a few more than that. They have all of what I just mentioned, plus Balkans, Baltics, Czechoslovakia, 2 countries, Portugal, Greece, and Turkey. So more regions there than what Siege has, but it'll likely work in a similar structure where you've got promotion relegation. Now in League of Legends, they're top tier. Their LCK, similar to European Pro League, is not promotion relegation. It is franchised, so teams own their spots and they'll never lose them unless they sell their spots. So it'll be interesting to see how those national programs feed into the Pro League. Now, this isn't in any articles or anything, but I would speculate that teams that do well in national programs will compete against other teams from other national programs in Europe, who will then compete against like bottom tier European Challenger League teams to maybe make it into European Pro League. That would be my best guess is how EUPL is going to work in terms of relegation and promotion, but I really have no idea. All we know is that somehow the national program is going to be pretty key in terms of getting teams into the Pro League. So that's Europe. Talk about LATAM next. Now, LATAM is being broken up into Brazil, Mexico, and South America. South America includes Argentina, Peru, Chile, and Uruguay. That's a really exciting change for me. I think the Mexican and South American scenes have been really underrepresented. That's just a couple weeks before the Invitational, maybe not, like a couple days before the Invitational, we had the, LATAM Masters, February 1st. LATAM Masters saw the best teams in Mexico go up against the best teams in South America. It was a pretty big tournament for basically all of the Spanish world outside of Spain. And it was like a really big deal for them. There are really strong Mexican scenes and South American scenes as well, mostly in Argentina. But Chile, I think, has a fair presence as well from what I've seen. So I'm happy to see them get represented. Mexico is supposedly moving to a LAN format, which is interesting. Brazil possibly will be. I was a little unclear on that based on the wording of the articles. It seems like South America definitely won't be, which makes sense considering there's so many different countries. But Mexico will be really exciting. It's supposedly, according to the CCG article, just going to take the teams from Mexico Challengers, which is sort of their most recent national league. That had 8 teams in it. It's all in Wikipedia. You can look up those teams if you're interested in them. Some really, exciting teams. Mex, if you follow North American Challenger League, was on one of those teams for a while. And it's a pretty active scene, and I'm really excited to see them get a little bit more spotlight, especially if they can play on LAN. That's going to be huge for them. South America, very few details, really nothing on them, but apparently it's going to take the teams from the Giants Showdown, which was also 8 teams. Those 8 teams were all invited, so I don't know between Mexico, LATAM, and South America what their system is going to look like in terms of, promotion relegation, whether there's going to be any sort of franchisement going on there. No details released, so we'll have yet to see. I'd imagine it would be like promotion relegation type system of some sort, though, with qualifiers or something, and a tier 2 scene, hopefully. Now, another thing that was interesting from CCG is apparently Pro League is just taking over BR6, and they're going to invite the BR6 teams. Now, what that means is that it means that Elevate would be out of Pro League season 12, and then LFOBR, not available org, and Orgless, 3 Brazilian teams, would be in, which would be an interesting decision. I feel like that wouldn't work that way. I feel like that's not true, but that's in the CCG article. That Elevate would just lose their spot, and those 3 Orgless teams would join in. 10 teams in LATAM is confirmed, and it seems like they are sort of taking over the BR6. They're kind of merging the two in some way, shape, or form. Whether that means the teams are carrying over from BR6 instead of Pro League, and whether that means it's going to be on LAN, is still unclear, so we'll just have to wait and see what the Brazilian scene looks like. Another thing is that it seems like, there's a big picture that says like Latin America, 10 teams, and it seems like there's going to be 10 teams from LATAM in the Pro League pilot program as well. What I'm wondering is that all the Brazilian teams? Because if it's taking over BR6, that would be 10 teams, right? That would be a 10-team Brazilian league. But then it leaves no room for Mexico in the LATAM scene. Again, it's just weird how this works. I don't know if Perhaps LATAM and South America and Brazil are going to be their own leagues that feed into a LATAM league, and then those LATAM teams will be part of the pilot program and the actual official pro league. It's really confusing how that stuff's going to work out. So I do hope that we get a little bit more info on there. Yeah, I don't know. LATAM's a little bit confusing, and it will be interesting to see how that works. Then we'll go to North America. So North America is going to have a US and a Canada division. Very confused on how that's going to work. Supposedly North American Pro League is getting played on LAN, and according to CGG, it's going to be played in Vegas. Whether that just means the American version of Pro League is being played on LAN in Vegas, and the Canadian League will sort of be like a smaller thing that's separate, that's online, sort of like Canada Nationals. We have yet to really see, which is again like awkward, sort of ambiguous, ambiguous wording to me. A new league system. North America will be shifting to a LAN league in Las Vegas. So the article doesn't say like the US teams are shifting to Las Vegas, but then which teams are going to be in Canada? US, it seems like there won't be promotion relegation just due to the fact that Season 11 Challenger League teams aren't getting directly promoted into the Pro League. And if they're doing it on LAN, it is more likely, I would say, that they're going to try to keep teams like localized, keep things a little bit more stable. So you probably are less likely to have promotion relegation if you're doing a LAN league, which it seems like the US league is. Again, it's really not clear at all how Canada is going to be separate from the US division, is what they call it. They don't technically call it a different league. For the first time, Canada will have a place within the global competition stage with the Canada division, and that's the only sentence that they get. It also says that the US division is a new program with premier production and playdates. That speaks to me that the US division will be the only one with premier production, aka on LAN, probably in Las Vegas. So I don't know. And again, there's 10 teams from North America in the North American Pro League and 10 teams in the pilot program, I'm assuming. So is that just the American teams? I don't know what's happening with Canada there. We're going to have to wait and see. Last but not least, APAC. APAC is the most confusing, so I've left it for last. APAC gets split in two. So again, they were sort of touting like APAC, 12 teams. That's sort of what's being shown. And you're like, okay, how have the 4 regions of APAC contributing 12 teams? Is it 3 from each? No, definitely not. APAC North has 12 teams. APAC North is Korea, Japan, and Southeast Asia. It seems like this is what they're really pushing as the 12 teams. I don't know if that means that ANZ is going to be completely separate from these teams. If that means that ANZ aren't going to be allowed in the pilot program at all. I'm assuming at least with APAC, like they're not going to leave Fnatic out. So they're probably just going to be splitting things up a little bit. It wouldn't surprise me if also in LATAM and perhaps North America, they just say, all right, maybe like 6 Brazilian teams get in the Pro League pilot program and like 2 South American and 2 Mexican. And then they might do 5 from North APAC and 5 from South APAC. Or be, I guess, 6 from North and 6 from South. It's tough to say. We'll just have to wait and see how that goes. At first, I thought it was South APAC will be its own league and North APAC will be its own league, but I don't think that's the case. It seems like South APAC is more individual, national leagues essentially. So it seems like they're going to have, at the start, they've only confirmed Australia, New Zealand, and South Asia, aka India and Bangladesh and that type of stuff. But it doesn't seem like those 2 regions are going to be playing together. Which would make sense geographically because those 2 regions are really far apart from one another. It seems like definitely Korea, Japan, and Southeast Asia will be playing all together under one league, but then otherwise other countries will be playing sort of in their own ecosystem. And how they get invited to majors, how they get into the pilot program, how those promotion relegations work, still very unclear. We don't really know about those South Asian teams. And Ubisoft made it very explicit that they were open to expanding this region in particular. They said all regions can be expanded, countries, added or removed as the game grows and changes. To me, that says that, China is a possibility for South Asia. Perhaps the Middle East will become possible for South Asia. Whatever happens with Turkey, that might get thrown in with Europe. That might get thrown in with South Asia, maybe North Asia somehow. I know that nobody would really call Turkey or the Middle East South Asia, but It could get put into the South APAC region. I should not confuse those terms, because South Asia and South APAC are very different in this context. But that can apparently be, expanded and shrunk. LATAM seems like the very similar. Right now there's 3 separate leagues, I think, and so they could add in more. Let's say Argentina builds a very strong community quite separate from the rest of South America, just hypothetically. Perhaps they would give Argentina its own league or something like that. Perhaps they'd move Central America or the Caribbean in to the Latin American region. It's tough to say, but that's kind of the rundown that we've gotten. Again, it's not super clear on how everything's going to work, but the big things is that a year-long season, rather than the 2 6-month seasons, a season will run basically from March, so right after the Invitational, all the way up until November. December will be off. January will have Pro League off, but January will also be qualifiers for the Invitational. It seems like we're going more into a Dota-style direction, which I like. Basically, there are going to be 3 majors throughout the year, and then your placement in those majors will contribute to, how you make it, or who makes it to the Invitational. So let's explain that a little bit more. So in 2020, again, it's a bit of a hybrid year. So Sao Paulo is going to be the first LAN of year 5. Then we're going to have a North American major and a European major. Where those are has not been announced. How you do in that North American major and that European major will give you points. It seems like, based on the videos, the top 16 teams with points will get invited automatically to the Invitational, which is very Dota style. And then there will be qualifiers in January to also make it to the Invitational. How many teams the Invitational will be has not been said. I would guess that it's probably 20 or 24 or 22, somewhere around there. I think for Dota, the International, which is sort of what the Invitational is based off of. How many teams is the International? I should have looked this up already, but I'm going to look it up right now on the fly. 18? Yeah, 18 teams in the International. So I imagine there would be more if they're doing 16 teams invited from majors. And then it probably wouldn't just be 2 from qualifiers. Dota does 12 teams invited just based off of how many points you get in majors. And then one team from North America, 1 team from South America, 1 from Europe, 1 from CIS, which is like Russia, Ukraine, 1 from China, and 1 from Southeast Asia. CG's demographics look a little bit different than Dota's, so we won't have those exact qualifiers. We'll probably have... We honestly might have like 20 teams coming, right? 16 from the Invitational, and then like 1 from each region in a qualifier. Totally possible. But that's sort of how that's going to work. And 2021, year 6, we're going to have a European major, a North American major, and an APAC major, all feeding into the Invitational. I will say, I don't love these LAN locations. I talked a little bit about LAN locations before the Invitational came out, and where my dream locations would be if I was in charge of the schedule. I do feel like LATAM's being let down a little bit here. I feel like the Brazilian fans maybe don't get enough tournaments, and I say that even though the next tournament will be in LATAM, will be in Sao Paulo. But to me, it still seems like very tilted towards North America and Europe. Europe maybe deserves it because there is such a huge player base and such a huge skill base there, similar to CS. But North America, I still feel, is oversaturated with LANs. I say that as a North American. A major both years and the Invitational both years. That's going to bring the total events from North America up to 10 over the course of 6 years. Europe will have 9 events over the course of 6 years, and LATAM finishes with 3 and APAC with only 2. I'm fine with APAC having a little bit fewer. I'm fine with Europe having a little bit more, but that discrepancy between North America and LATAM, when those 2 regions are basically the same in skill, maybe not quite. I think there's an argument that North America is a little bit stronger, but they're fairly equal in skill. It's a little bit heartbreaking, maybe not heartbreaking, but like disappointing for me. I'd like to see LATAM get a little bit more love in terms of tournaments, but whatever. I've already talked about that a little bit more, and I'm a little bit biased. I guess I won't complain too hard about North America getting all the lands. So that's my thoughts on everything. That's sort of the direction we're heading for years 5 and year 6. I'm really excited to see how things go. My biggest questions, what's the tier 2 scene going to look like? There's a tweet from Stuart saying that Challenger League is dead after season 11, but there will still be tier 2 scenes. Again, that's probably going to look different in every single region. In Europe, that's probably going to be national programs. Perhaps in LATAM and APAC, that'll be stuff like Challenger League programs. In North America, who really knows? That might be like an academy league. That's how they do it in League of Legends, and they have like a franchise league. So it might be like similar to Overwatch, where they do like what do they do in Overwatch? You know, they just do like a challenger league essentially, where like orgs can buy in, and it's not like city based or anything like that. In League of Legends, I'm not going to explain the whole system, but it's like teams have a challenger league team and a pro league team, and they can swap players up and down. It's their academy team. So we'll have to wait and see. I'm interested in how the Canada division separates from the North American division. I'm interested in how the pilot program skins are going to be distributed. I'm interested in how like major qualification is going to work. I'm assuming, I think it's still going to be 4 per region, or not still, but they're moving to 4 per region, with 4 teams. Say hello. With 4 teams from North America going to the major, 4 from Europe, 4 from LATAM, and 4 from APAC, and then how you score points. We'll send you the invitational, but I really just am not sure, especially with breaking up like LATAM into Brazil, Mexico, and South America. You know, if it's different leagues between Brazil, Mexico, and SA, who makes it to the major, we don't really know. So that's it. Thanks for watching. It's been a long one. It's been a bit of a rambly one. Missed a couple of weeks recently, but I do hope you'll forgive me. Challenger League qualifiers, closed qualifiers, start next week. So that's going to be on twitch.tv/JessieJChick. We're hopefully going to be coordinating that with all of the CL casters. So do make sure you follow the Twitch channel. Do make sure you follow the Twitter and also the YouTube channel. And I'll hopefully be back next week with a different video, probably focusing on the Challenger League qualifiers and how those are going. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye. See you next time.